I am Supreme, and today's Astro Oracle investigation will be on James Yoblanski. James Yoblanski is a teenager from Reedsburg, Wisconsin, who has been missing since June 12th, 2023. He was 13 years old at the time of his disappearance and recently turned 16 in December of 2025. Today is February the 8th, 2026. James Yoblanski is still missing and has not been heard from. Now, James was last seen leaving his home around 1 a.m. in his family's van. He stole his father's family van at 13. The vehicle was later found abandoned along Highway 12 near Devil's Lake State Park. Investigators discovered a makeshift campsite near the abandoned van containing his clothes, toiletries, and his father's cell phone. He also stole his father's cell phone. A second campsite with survival gear was found later. Now, survivalist theory. Authorities believe James may have attempted to live off the grid as a survivalist. 2 wilderness survival guides and a handgun were reported missing from his home at the same time he disappeared. Now, James was on camera. I watched the footage. He was on camera. He was seen leaving the home with his backpack. He had the father's shotgun. He had the books, the survival guides. Like, he was 13 years old. He was really on a mission. We don't know where he was going, but we're going to find out. And we hope he's okay. Now, he left the home in the middle of the night. His father, William Yoblanski, has expressed frustration with the survivalist theory. Of course, he's 13. Like, what a 13-year-old know about wanting to go off the grid, for one? And then, a survivalist thing. How can a 13-year-old survive? At 13, you only been living for 13 years. Suggesting his son may have been lured away or kidnapped. I believe that too. As of February 2026, there are no leads and the case remains active investigation. Let's find James Yoblanski. Now, I'm going to pull from my Astro Oracle. Y'all know this the OG? This going to tell it. I'm going to pull 4 cards from the Astro Oracle, and then I'm going to pull 4 cards from Talk About It to tell me all about it. What happened to James Yoblanski? What happened to James Yoblanski? He was born December 3rd, 2009, and he disappeared June 12th, 2023. What happened to James Yoblanski? James Yoblanski. You got to say the name to tap into the energy signature. What happened to James Yoblanski in 4 cards, who was born December 3rd, 2009, and who disappeared June 12th, 2023? In 4 cards, what happened to James Yoblanski? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, the Aries thing that came out, the only card that came out in reverse was the Aries thing. This Aries thing represents a self thing. Something that he embarked on himself. This came out in reverse. He did not prosper. I just felt my heart skip a beat. This thing that he embarked on, because Aries rules the South. So, of course, he left. And we could tell he was on a mission all by himself to survive. And it did not prosper because this Aries thing that represents the self came out in reverse. An 11th house event. This tells me that James was not by himself. I don't know if that's good news or bad news. I mean, it's bad news that he's missing, but a 13-year-old embarking on a journey all by himself to survive off the grid, like what was going on at home? This is like opening up a can of worms, to tell you the truth. Because there must have been a lot going on at home that we don't know about, but it's going to come out. This second house event, this was about money and material, second house event. And this first house person, we're going to see who this first house person is. This represents the self, but this is also a person that was with James. And this person is going to come first. We're going to see who this person is. This person is going to come out the day he disappeared in his disappearance chart. We're going to find out, because we're going to get to the bottom of this. I hate to hear when young people are going through being exposed to energies of, how can I describe it? They just want to get away. Clearly James wanted to run away. But why? Like, what's going on with these young people? What's really going on at home? Tell me about James Yoblanski. This is my talk about it deck. Tell me about James Yoblanski, who was born December 3rd, 2009, who disappeared June 12th, 2023. Tell me in 4 cards about James Yoblanski, what happened to him, why he disappeared, and if he's still alive or not. Tell me about James Yoblanski, who was born December 3rd, 2009, who disappeared June 12th, 2023, in 4 cards. Tell me about what happened. So he got sick. This death in the 6th house represents the death of his health. The 6th house is the house of health, wellness. It's also the house of work and employment. So we know, his employment life wasn't developed because he was only 13 years old. So the only other death that can take place in the 6th house was his health. So he got sick. That would make sense because this thing he was doing all by himself did not prosper. A 5th house challenge. The 5th house challenge. The 5th house is the house of children. James himself was a child. There could have been some challenges going on with other children. This is definitely a 5th house challenge. Now, also, a 5th house challenge, when the challenge comes out in the 5th house is Leo's house. That's the house of children. It's also the house of celebration. It's also the house of romance. Playful sex. Not the type of sex that creates children. Although this is the house of children. This is the playful type of sex. You go out on a date, you go to a hotel, have sex, go back home to your wife or your husband. I'm not promoting anybody to do infidelity moves, But I'm just saying, I'm telling you the difference between, and I'm getting to something when I say this, because when the challenge shows up in the house of children, this could also be a child that may have been sexually molested at home. He could have been going through some sexual, or he could have been raped or sexually molested while he was trying to get away with the person who he was with. Because I'm quite sure he was not alone. This 11th house event lets me know he wasn't alone. So this 5th house challenge definitely involves children, romance, there's a 4th house victory. This lets me know he was trying to get away from his family. He was trying to get the victory over something that he was going through at home. The 4th house is the house of home and family. When the victory card comes out in a situation like this, James Yoblanski was trying to get away and overcome his family. He was trying to get the victory over his domestic affairs. Something was definitely going on at home. This 10th house challenge, the 10th house is the house of the father. This makes a lot of sense. Now, y'all know in my book, everybody's a suspect until proven innocent. Even the parents, the siblings, the father, the other children. Now, when this challenge in the house of children comes along with another challenge in the house of the father, this makes a lot of sense because James Yoblanski stole his father's van, his father's shotgun. He stole a lot of shit from the house that belonged to his father. When a son can rise up against a father like that, something triggered that. And it came from the father. What was he trying to get away from? Let's pull these charts. James Yoblanski was born December 3rd, 2009. On that day, the sun was in Sagittarius and the moon was in Gemini. And when you put a Gemini moon in Sagittarius' house, which is the 9th house, Libra comes first. This is James Yoblanski's birth chart energy. He was a 7th house baby. The 7th house is the house of relationships. That's Libra's house. Libra comes first, which is the significant other. This is clue number 2, along with this 11th house event that lets me know that James wasn't by himself. The 7th house rules relationships. Now, as I always say, I can't look in the birth chart to determine whether a person is dead or missing. But what I can do is look in the birth chart to determine that if they are missing, where that path started, and if they are dead, where that path started. And then when I pull the disappearance chart, I'm going to see where both paths end. And that's going to tell the story of their disappearance and their death. So right now we know for a fact James Yoblanski is missing. So let's start in the 12th house. The 12th house is where it all started, the disappearance. I see Virgo. Somebody was helping him. Virgo represents help. Virgo represents health. Virgo represents work, daily routine. And so does the 6th house. And the 6th house came out as a 6th house death. Now, the 12th house is also the house of loss. And like I said, this represents the loss of his health, which makes sense. But also Virgo in the 12th house represents a health loss as well. This lets me know that James Yoblanski had a weak immune system. He had a 13-year-old immune system, but he didn't have the kind of immune system to survive this journey he was trying to embark on. He wasn't that strong. And that's why this 6th house death came out. The death of his health. Virgo rules the sixth house in any chart. You see Virgo in red? Everything in red represents whose house it is. Everything in black represents who's there. Pisces is there. Because in Pisces' house, you see Virgo, the health loss. Now, the beginning of death starts in Taurus in James' chart. Taurus is about money, materialism. Taurus can also be food, shelter, clothing. Taurus is also everything that represents the five senses: sight, taste, smell, touch, hearing. And of course, when you get sick, you start to lose all of these things. Now, let's pull the disappearance chart before we go over these cards. Because Aries, this thing that he was embarking on all by himself, is right here, right in the house of relationships. James Yoblanski was a seventh house baby. This is him embarking on his journey all by himself, but someone was with him because Libra comes first. James was not by himself. So let's follow Venus, because Venus rules Libra, to elaborate on who he was with. Venus that day was in Leo. Remember I told you Leo rules the fifth house. There is a fifth house that came out. But Leo is in the 11th house. This event, remember I told you Leo rules the fifth house of playful love affairs, romance, celebrations. James was not alone. And not only was he not alone, he was with a predator. Because James is only 13 years old. And he was with somebody a lot older than him. Because he did a Snapchat video from his father's phone after he disappeared. And he was in the vehicle and they saw somebody else driving through the reflection in the window. He was telling his classmates that I won't be back to school. Something happened to my mind. Don't feel sorry for me. Something like what he was saying along that lines. But James was not alone. James was not alone. Let's pull this disappearance. The day he disappeared, June 12th, 2023, the sun was in Gemini and the moon was in Aries. When you put an Aries moon in Gemini's house, which is the third house, look what comes first. Aquarius. Aquarius is an 11th house chart. This 11th house event is the reason why I know James is not alone. He was with somebody that I found in Leo energy in his chart. Now, what's in the 11th house in his disappearance chart? Sagittarius. Venus that day. Remember, we followed Venus to see who he was with. The day he disappeared, Venus was in Leo, which was this individual he was with. James' Venus is in Sagittarius. There goes the individual he was with. Here goes James. This is an 11th house event that involves friends, groups, members, organizations, sororities, fraternities. James was not alone, and he's with an older individual. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. Let's elaborate on James' energy with this friend. Jupiter, James's Jupiter is in Aquarius. And Aquarius is in James' fifth house. But this is Aquarius's house because Aquarius comes first. Why? Because this is who he's with. He is with this 11th house individual. James is not by himself. The sun rules Leo. The day James disappeared, I'm sorry, I'm intense, I'm passionate because this is a child and my heart goes out to all children. Everybody that knows me knows that I'm big on children. When it comes to my heart, I have a heart for children. So, a healthy heart. You know, I have a child myself, a stepson, and I love him like he's my own son. And I've been in his life ever since he's 16 now. But I love that kid with all my heart, and he knows it, and he loves me too. I have a heart for children. I couldn't imagine my stepson being missing. Could you imagine that? Stealing my car. He wouldn't get far because my car stands out. Everybody knows my car. So you won't get far. My car, you can't commit no crime in my car because it stands out too much. It is a standout car. It's definitely modified because I'm into fashion. So, yeah. So, I can't imagine that though. And it hurts my heart because this 13-year-old should not have been exposed to some type of energy that made him feel like he had to get away. And not only that, to do it in the most intelligent way that he thought possible and still failed. Because no 13-year-old should be out here trying to survive off the grid. That's some shit that people do in their 60s and 70s when they realize what this world is all about and we all under surveillance and they see everything. That's some retirement shit. That is not some teenage shit. It's just not. And I wish I could fix every reason why children want to get away. But I'm only one person. I can't. But one thing I will fix is this reading right here. So we can get to the bottom of what happened to James Yoblanski. He was not by himself. Now let's follow the sun because the sun rules Leo. The sun was in Gemini that day in the local environment. Gemini is right here in the ninth house. The ninth house is the house of long distance travels, journeys. But Gemini represents local travel. So when the energy of local travel is in the house of long distance journeys, this represents a journey like in the woods or in the mountains somewhere, in a remote area. Now this is James' energy in Gemini. Let's look at where Gemini is the day he disappeared. In the fifth house. Because in that remote area is where all this Leo activity is going on at. Aquarius comes first because that represents the friend, the individual. That represents the individual that James is with. Because in the 11th house, you have Sagittarius. Sagittarius rules the ninth house. You see Sagittarius' house, the ninth house? In Sagittarius' house, you see Libra. That's the relationship partner. Who is the partner of this Aquarius individual that's with James? James. Because Libra comes first in James' part. He is the Libra, the seventh house baby that's in a partnership with this Aquarius individual. Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and Jupiter that day was in Pisces. But James' Jupiter is in Aquarius. Now, where's Pisces at? Because Pisces represents the 12th house. It represents what's hiding, the hidden activity. The hidden activity involving this individual that James is with is right here in the second house of money. The second house event came out. This second house event is a hidden event involving money. There is money behind the scenes of all this activity. Where did the money come from? Let's follow Neptune. Neptune is in Pisces. Pure deception. James's Neptune, though, is in Aquarius. Because this pure deception came from this individual, this person that James was with that comes first. Remember, I told you this person that comes first is going to be seen in the disappearance chart right here. I feel like James, this challenge right here, this fifth house challenge, is something that James was going through in school. Because Gemini is in the fifth house. And Gemini rules the third house of the local environment. It rules neighbors. It rules school children. Make sure y'all utilize my Astro Oracle tutorial that I link in the description below of every reading. Gemini represents the local environment, the local school kids. It represents the whole early childhood education experience. And for Gemini to come out in the fifth house of children, this is letting me know this is school children. And there's a challenge that came out in James' energy involving these school children. What type of challenge was this? Confrontational. Could have been bullying. Aries is the confrontational energy. Right here. Now, this Aries thing represents the self, and it came out in reverse. Where was Aries at? Because remember, he was this person in the seventh house. So he was going through something in school, but it came out in reverse. It didn't work out. Whatever he was going through in school, he got away from. He didn't confront it. He ran away from it because this came out in reverse. And he ran away from a lot of things, but he didn't survive. Mars rules Aries. Mars was in Leo the day James was born and the day he disappeared. Look at Leo right there. Leo is the energy of children. Now, when Aries shows up in the third house of schools and Mars lands in Leo, this is something he was going through with a school child. Now, he could very well be away with another school child as well. Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean this person is a lot older than him. This could be somebody from his school. This could also be a teacher from his school that he may be with. Lost and found. Y'all know what we're looking for. Where is the body of James Yoblanski? A body is a body, whether it's dead or alive. Where is the body of James Yoblanski? Now, I was looking at that 10th house challenge in the father's house. And in James' chart, I see the mother in the 10th house. Okay? The mother is in the father's house. This is James' mother, and this is James' father, the 10th house. Capricorn's house is the 10th house. Capricorn is down here in the 4th house, Cancer's house, the house of the mother, at home. So the problem was with the father. There could be some stuff that was going on at home that James was trying to get away from too, involving both parents. In the 10th house, this card just dropped out. Sanitation and waste. West of where he was last seen at. The items that they found. You know, they were finding items at all these campsites. Now, the sanitation and waste card came out. I don't know what to say. Energy doesn't lie. Energy doesn't lie. I don't even want to say what came out in the cards because my heart hurts for stuff like this. Sanitation and waste. Energy don't lie though. They found a lot of evidence. They found everything pretty much but the body. They found the vehicle. This is sad. Who? Who is involved? Who's responsible for James Yoblanski's disappearance and death? Who's responsible for James Yoblanski's... My ear is ringing. It's ringing so loud, it almost feels like y'all can hear it. My ear is ringing. It just started ringing. I know I made contact. Who is responsible for the disappearance and death of James Yoblanski? Who is responsible for the disappearance and death of James Yoblanski? A friend in the 11th house. Y'all know energy don't lie. Energy does not lie. Look at that. That's who's responsible. He's not alone. That's who's responsible. Aquarius came first. This is this person right here. Somebody in James's friend circle is responsible. You cannot make this up. This cannot be made up. This is sad. This is a sad case. Evidence that'll help us locate the friend and James' body. Evidence that will help us locate this friend and James's body. Evidence that will help us locate this friend and James Yoblanski's body. Latent prints in the first house. Latent prints. Fingerprints. I wonder, did they run some tests on the vehicle? Since they found the vehicle, going to my Astro Oracle Index. Latent prints. Latent prints. Right here. Fingerprints, palm prints, and footprints in the first house. Yep. Latent prints. I have a template for everything I do. Every deck I created about 20-something decks. That book is full of nothing but astrological knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and oracle knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Energy don't lie. I told you, I am a high-ranking astro oracle psychic. This ain't no game. Latent prints in the first house. I'm going to leave this right here. I'm going to leave this right here. Hold up now. Because Aquarius, let's follow this Aquarius, right? Because Uranus rules Aquarius. And I just spotted Uranus in Taurus. And Taurus is right here in the home and family. Look at Taurus right here in the home and family. Taurus is the energy that started James's death, that started the path. Let me find out why did the path that started his death land in the home. Whose home is this? Home is James's home. In James' chart, who's at home? The father. Now, James's disappearance started in the 12th house in Virgo, and it ended in the house of death in the 8th house. The beginning of his death started in Taurus, and it ended in the 4th house of home and family. Whose home and family is this? Whose home and family is this? Let's find Cancer, because this is Cancer's house. Cancer is right here in the 6th house of work. A 6th house card, I believe, came out. This was the 6th house death, health. I believe James was poisoned. I believe he was poisoned and he was killed and his body was destroyed. That's why this sanitation and waste card came out. Wherever they took him, I believe they poisoned him. Somebody took James to their house, far off, or to a house that this other person knows of, this Aquarius individual. Everything was foul play. I would hate to believe that James's family has something to do with this, or his father. I mean, because I see the father in the 4th house. And a 4th house did come out. James was trying to get the victory over the father. Like I say, anytime the son has the courage to rise up against the father and steal all his shit like that, especially his car at 13, something serious was going on. And the father knows what was going on. That is the truth. Now, maybe the father didn't do it, but the father knows exactly why James left that house. That's my story and my reading on James Yoblanski, and I'm sticking to it. And I'm going to go watch some podcasts on this because I didn't watch anything on James yet. I've just read from the AI. I'm trying to get all these readings out. As you see, I've been dropping investigations like twice a day because I'm going straight to the list. I have a whole list I'm working on. Straight to the itinerary. Just doing the readings instead of spending hours and days watching all these podcasts. You know, I'm a high-ranking oracle. All I need is the name, the date of birth, and the day they disappeared. And I'm ready to do the reading. And that's what I did. Y'all like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button so you'll be notified when I drop my investigations. Like this video so it can generate throughout the media. Justice for James Yoblanski. And that's my reading on James Yoblanski. Y'all be blessed. Tell me what y'all think in the comments below.